Bonjour.
Bon appetit.
What?
Bon appetit.
I thought you said mon appetit.
I said bon appetit.
Mm.
And welcome to the Ruby Tuesday.
Hello.
My name is Ruben.
I'm Kay.
And today we are reviewing Emily in Paris. Emily in Paris comes out on Friday the 2nd of October.
2 October.
The show follows the adventures of Emily Cooper, played by the incandescent Lily Collins, an ambitious Midwestern millennial who is handed an unexpected opportunity to work for a French marketing firm. Undaunted by her inability to speak French, but buoyed by an American sense of enthusiasm, she runs headlong into a wall of Gaelic indifference. I should say, in case you haven't been watching our channel for a while, that I'm definitely the one that is more drawn to romantic series. I like them more. And so it was good to have you to watch this with me, because I think as a woman you can say, no, that's too far-fetched, or that's just too much, or you just bring a sounding board to my romanticism.
Yeah, it's set in Paris. Yeah. Mm.
Now, don't be too harsh on this.
Well, I think it was good.
Okay.
I mean...
you had your teacher voice.
Yes, well, here's what I think.
Okay.
I thought it was good for what it is, and I think you need to come at it with the attitude of it is what it is. It has a kind of a soap opera-esque feeling to it. Not in the traditional soap opera, but in the more sort of like Beverly Hills 90210. Because it feels like sometimes it's totally unrealistic, like completely unrealistic, that she suddenly gets to take over this other woman's job just because, you know, like literally like almost on the day that she's leaving for Paris. Oh, you take the job. That wouldn't really happen, especially if one of the key things that you needed in order to take the job was the ability to speak French, which clearly she doesn't. I do think it is a tricky one because traditionally, let's just say stereotypically, the French are depicted as, if you can speak French, probably don't, because they're not going to appreciate the way you speak French anyway. It helps that you can understand them, but they may not be appreciative of the way you speak their language. So you kind of can't win, because if you don't speak the language at all, that's offensive. And if you do, it's also offensive.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is fair to say that we have a lot of... stereotypes when it comes to the French. It's definitely here in the UK. I know people believe that in America as well. So if you're offended by that, I don't think that's what the creator had intended for the series, because even he says in a press letter to the Netflix press people, whoever gets screeners, thank you Netflix for the screeners, is that he loves Paris. He's in love with Paris, and he created it for that. And he created it specifically to kind of go on an adventure, a romantic adventure, because now we're you know in this time that we're experiencing, people need escapism, and that's what this series is. It's escapism. It's Devil meets Devil Wears Prada.
No, that wasn't a question.
In a TV series, it's totally unbelievable. But with so many TV series, regardless of what you're watching, there's a lot of disbelievity, that's not a word.
Wow, it is now.
Well, disbelievity that you have to put aside. The Witcher, you don't believe that there's mystical fantasy creatures like that, or do you?
I don't know.
And the same can be said here. So you be taking a character that seemingly, when she works, she doesn't need to work that much. That seemingly she has so much money, but she's also like almost the understudy of her original boss, who sent her here because of something that's happened, without doing spoilers. And so now she's in Paris, she's living the dream, and it's this romantic idea of the ideal Paris.
Yeah.
So if you like Beverly Hills 90210, if you like Sex and the City, it's all of that and more, but kind of heightened. So you get all the relationships that everybody's mingling with each other. You have multiple messy relationships. You have multiple people sleeping with each other's wives and husbands and boyfriends, and everybody seems to be involved in each other's personal lives in a very tangible way.
Intimate way?
Yeah, very, very intimate. But putting all that aside, it could sound like this is a mess and it's not fun. And I totally thought when I was going into this, this is going to be one I'm going to find very difficult to watch.
Yeah, we were both like, we're ready for this. Come on, okay, we're going to get through this.
Fortunately, I think the lead helps here. I think she's very bubbly, she's very intelligent, but she's also fun to watch.
Yeah.
And the scripting was much cleverer than I thought it was going to be, and that's just my own perception from the trailer. You know, I was going in going, this is not going to be very good. But there's jokes in here they have like running innuendos that are actually quite smart, that you have to kind of catch up, and your brain kind of catches up afterwards. And don't worry if you don't speak French. There's a lot of spoken French in this, but you don't need to speak French yourself. They cover all their bases. It's also an episodic storyline. So they have the main arc that flows throughout the whole thing. This is basically about Emily and who she kind of forms relationships with, not just guys and girls. You know, whoever she's meeting, those relationships are explained quite well. They do really nice backstories for some of the characters. Some of the side characters are fantastic, especially when you get to meet them and it fleshes them out. You're suddenly more invested in those characters. It always seems to be the way for me that I end up liking some of the side characters more than the protagonist.
Yeah.
Because they do so well at fleshing out those stories. And so by the time you've run through the end, you totally understand what this story is, what this series is. You have these episodic. Well, I'm just making up words today. You have episodes that have individual stories, like an adventure of the day. Emily has to sort something out within her firm. She has to prove to her very horrible Cruella boss that she's actually definitely needs to be there. They need her.
Mm-hmm.
And she somehow, figures it out. And so that's her adventure of the day. And so every episode seems to have that. There's always some chaotic thing that happens within the agency or with advertising or fashion. And you have all of that. But in amongst the workings of the relationships, there's this, really shining the light of glorified Hollywood Paris. And so if you want escapism, that's this. It's Hollywood movie Paris. Because I'm sure summer Paris is like that, but it's definitely not always like that.
Nuh-uh.
Especially if you don't have the money to live in Paris, in the city. Especially if you are an understudy or you've just come into a new job and you somehow manage to, afford an apartment like right there. It's all of these things that you have to kind of go, okay, it's one of these series. It's also one of those series that when I was taking my notes, I was like, when do these guys work? And how come everything just seems to work out for Emily?
Yeah.
Like she manages to, in the last minute, just, figure something out. And she's so sure of herself, which I'm so taken back. Maybe that speaks to my own personality. Like, I need to be more assured of myself. But every situation that she comes into, she seems to be okay. No matter how much people put her down or trying to grind her down and say, no, that's rubbish, you're an American, you don't speak French, what are you coming here trying to bring us your American ways? No matter how many French people tell her that she's rubbish, she just has this personality that won't be broken. There are a couple of times, but I actually thought that's kind of what held the series up a bit, because if it broke her down, then it'll be one of those, oh, I'm sad now, and then she's got to get back up.
Yeah.
But you can definitely guess where this series is going. From the get-go, you will know exactly who's going to end up with who eventually. There was one thing I was surprised by, and which I guess I can say now because it didn't happen, is that the boyfriend from the beginning I definitely thought would be a feature in the end. Which wasn't. So there were a couple of surprises, but for the most part, you will know what's going to happen. But it's a heartwarming, romantic series that's filled with good script writing, fun to watch, half-an-hour episodes, so, you'll get through it like that. 10 episodes. I think it's worth your time if you need an escapism series. However, if you don't like the Sex and the City type stuff, Beverly Hills 90210, Paris, fashion, that kind of stuff, it doesn't matter whether you're a guy, female, whatever age. If you don't like that, you won't like it because it's got all of that.
Yeah.
However, I like me some good food. There's an amazing chef in this. I actually do like some fashion, even though I mostly wear shirts like this. I enjoyed it. I'm going to give this a B+.
Before I score it, I'm also going to mention that although it is sort of light and frivolous on the surface, I do think that there is a little bit of social commentary going through this series, which I just wanted to touch on. And I think it is stereotypes. So we've got the stereotypes of French people and how they are. We also got stereotypes of Americans and how Americans are. And so you have the clash of these two stereotypes. And I'm not sure whether the writer intended this or not, but it does actually make you think. because you start to think, surely not all French people are like that. And then you have to start to wonder, surely not all American people are like that. And so I guess it makes you think. It also has this wonderful stereotypical clash between sort of the old guard, the way people like to do things, the way they've always done them, versus the millennial, the new person who's grown up with technology and social media. Yeah, so someone who has all of these ideas that just, you know, keep pushing the boundaries and pushing the boundaries of the way that people like to do things. And I think that is something that is happening in society all over the place in many different industries all over the world.
Yeah, I agree.
So, I will give it a B+.
Oh, well, same as me. Snap. One last thing. We will do an ending spoiler, talking about where our characters are left off, what's going to happen, and where we think it might go. So if you want to hear ending spoilers, particularly that last bit and a couple of other spoilers, then, you know, find us on the Ruby Tuesday. And don't forget, we have a Discord and other social media platforms where we try and put all of our faces on there too. So, thanks so much for joining us on this review. But most of all, until next time, remember,
Live long and Tuesday.
And there we go.